Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve. And you may have noticed that cryptocurrency is taking a front row seat in this campaign. The crypto super PAC, known as the Fair Shake PAC, has spent upwards, get this, of nearly $15 million in this year's elections, and more than 90% of it's been spent against the Democrat candidates, and for good reason. Trump has been a Bitcoin champion, proclaiming that it will soon be made in America. And he even spoke at the annual Bitcoin conference last month in Nashville. It's huge for the crypto world. And Wyoming Senator Cynthia Lummis, who's a strong advocate for Bitcoin, well, she's sounding the alarm that Kamala is not and will be an impediment to crypto growth. All the while, the momentum is growing among conservative patriots, crypto advocates as they rally behind Trump, especially after the RFK endorsement. He's been a big champion of crypto as well. To help unpack the implications of cryptocurrency in the 2024 election, I brought back my good friend and sponsor, Dan Ryder of Prime DeFi here. Dan isn't just, gang, Dan is not just an expert. Dan is a genius when it comes to teaching people how to create semi-passive cash flow, no matter the market, and with no complex tech skills required. Scan that QR code and click the link on below to get a free call with Dan today. I assure you that call will be a real game changer in your life. Dan, welcome. Great to see you again. Thanks for taking some time to stop in here.
You too, Dr. Steve. Always good to see you.
It's always good to see you. So, we were talking a little bit before we went live here. I've never seen this before. I didn't see it in 2016, didn't see it in 2020. I mean, crypto really does seem to have a front row seat in 2024. Reports are showing that significant amounts of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are being poured into this campaign. What's going on? I mean, why do you think Bitcoin supporters why are they so interested in this election first? And why are they particularly rallying behind Trump?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And, I was actually shocked to see, of all places, MSNBC report today, actually, you were talking the amounts of money that have been donated by the crypto industry. And what's wild is, this 119 million or whatever the exact count is, they're outpacing the oil industry. They're outpacing the banking industry as far as other sectors that contribute to the outcome of an election. Like crypto's leading the charge, all these crypto companies. So that's wild, right? Like that's totally unprecedented. And I'm just shocked to see it on MSNBC.
On MSNBC,
yeah.
of all places, right?
But anyway, I won't. That's a whole other story. But
we won't dwell on that.
Yeah. But maybe it kind of ties into this idea that I think it's unique to this election, that what has historically been left and right, I think, is becoming a new type of election. It's still two parties, but it's more like it's not even Democrat, Republican, left or right. It's like, just what do you stand for? Do you stand for the government's party or for the free citizens party?
Right.
And I think there are people on both sides of the aisle that are looking at it that way, right? And so we've probably got a lot of folks who have been classically Democrat kind of coming on over to the other team now, because they're like, like, this isn't what I thought my party was. Right. And this is still America, I hope. And I think we all want to keep it that way. Yeah. So I think just the whole like paradigm of this campaign is totally different. It's pretty wild.
I love the way you put that, because one of the ways we talk about on this channel is that the paradigm, I think, is shifting in terms of the political divide. It's normally horizontally defined: left versus right, Democrat versus conservative, or Republican, liberal versus conservative. But what we're seeing now is it's more being recalibrated around a vertical divide: people versus permanent political class, right? Ordinary American versus oligarch, ruled versus rulers. And I think that's what we're seeing with the RFK endorsements, exactly what he's talking about. And and I know, again, he's been very, very supportive of crypto. He sees it as a very, very important part of our freedom future. And he's basically said, yeah, the Democratic Party as it exists now, my father and my uncle wouldn't even recognize it right now. So I think you're nailing it right there. So there is a political recalibration that's happening, and crypto is part of that. How important is it to the future of cryptocurrency that that we get this election right, that we have leaders in office who understand and support these digital assets?
Oh man, I think it's of the utmost importance to preserve American values, right? If you look at what happened this weekend with the founder of Telegram. Did you hear
Oh,
that story?
right.
With
Yeah.
Pavel Durov. I
Pavel.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean he's arrested. God knows what's going to happen with all that.
In France,
Um,
of all places,
yeah,
too.
yeah, I know, right? It's like
Not in Fran
not
no,
looking good. Yeah,
I am so sick and tired of people going, "Putin, Putin is an autocrat." What? It's Macron, it's not Putin. For heaven's
yeah.
sake, it's crazy,
The
yeah.
funny part is all the bits with Putin, like saying that France is mistreating it. Like all the things the daggers that were thrown at Putin years ago. He's like totally spinning it in reverse now.
Oh, totally. He's like
Um,
now they're actively
yeah,
Sergei Lavrov, their foreign minister's actively lobbying to get him out of prison. Isn't that
yeah,
ironic? Yeah.
yeah. He's the freedom guy now, which is funny. But yeah, no, like jokes aside, it's actually kind of scary
Yeah, it
because
is.
in America we want to be able to build and innovate, and um, we need leaders who understand this tech, right? Who don't think that we should hold a founder of a piece of software liable for every use case. I mean, while we're at it, why don't we arrest Bill Gates? Because you know what, Steve, I bet you somewhere somebody planned some kind of act of terror using Windows. Like,
Absolutely.
so should we arrest Bill Gates?
Yeah,
I mean, where
absolutely.
do you draw the line? And it's interesting, like what's happening with the world, this balance of centralized power versus decentralized liberty. That's kind of, I think, bigger picture what's at stake. And fortunately, we do have some leaders like Patrick McHenry,
Mhm,
chair of the Financial Services Committee, hails from North Carolina.
mhm.
Um, in terms of a seat in Congress, I mean, we've got good people. You mentioned Senator Loomis, right? That are putting together, of course, Trump, right? Trump literally saying that we will have a strategic reserve of Bitcoin.
Yes. Yeah.
With him coming into office. Um, so I think we need to keep these types of people at the front and center so they can guide the industry from a regulatory perspective and not hold it back, because otherwise we're going to lose what America was founded on, which is innovation, personal liberty, personal sovereignty. Right? We want limited government to keep things safe, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we want to live
Exactly.
freely. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
I've often heard that put. I know Doug Wilson, Pastor Doug Wilson in Idaho. He often gets stigmatized for being a theocrat. He wants to bring like the state under the authority of Christianity, and he smiles and says, "Yes." And if that happened, there'd hardly be any state. He would call himself a theocratic libertarian, and that's the funny part. Is just a lot of people don't realize that the freedom movement that's going on in our country right now, this glorious entrepreneurial movement, faith, family, and freedom movement, it's literally it's about freedom. It's about shrinking government. It's about holding government back and enabling you to
Yeah.
pursue your dreams. And in you pursuing your dreams, you're making other people's dreams come true. I wonder if you could expand on that a little bit, just in terms of, in your view, how getting involved in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies really does help restore conservative values in America.
Yeah. Oh man, such a good question. This is a big one because part of freedom, a huge part of freedom, is economic freedom,
Mhm,
and with the way we've run this country for the last several
mhm,
decades, right, and kind of what we've done to the value of the dollar, which has been nothing but devalued
mhm,
decade after decade. We're in this death spiral where debt begets more debt, and
mhm.
it's the only way to expand, but it's a fallacy because at some point it just falls
It
apart,
does, yeah, deflates.
and that's where we're headed, and I fear that it's too late to save it. Like even if like Trump came in and we had radical cleanup and whatever. I mean, it may be too far gone. We don't know. I like to remain optimistic, but it may be too far gone. So what has to happen? Um, we need to change the way value is accrued and stored, right? And we're seeing that, like, we're witnessing that with the crypto revolution, because we have assets now that are not able to be manipulated the way other things are. And we saw, like, Jerome Powell, he just gave his speech at Jackson Hole, talk about their outlook on the economy. They're going to likely start reducing interest rates, which will
That's
ease
right.
up the constraints on liquidity out in the market, put more cash in circulation for people, help people get cheaper mortgages, cheaper loans, etc. But why are they doing that? Because they need more debt in the system now, right? And so,
Right.
and all
Right.
of it is based around this notion that they achieved the victory of lowering inflation, right? Which which
Yep.
is all manipulated in the first place because of the way
Yep.
they measure it. So they're just playing this game, and it's a prolonged game, right? It took them 2 years almost of this rate hike after rate hike to control inflation, and then they just manage the whole thing to their narrative. And when it's time to print again, because they must print again, otherwise the whole thing blows up,
Right.
um, then now they have the validated story behind them that
Right.
they can do it. But the thing is, like, the real people who've, like, gone under the hood to take a look what's going on, they see the problem here. And a lot of those people end up in the crypto industry because they realize, right, that we need some other way. this
Right.
this musical chairs is going to end maybe in a
Yeah.
decade, and so we've got to get ready. I mean, hell, BlackRock, we saw them
Yeah.
announce that they were
Yeah.
getting into crypto because
Yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
stupid. I mean, they
It
see
is.
it too, right?
It is.
Uh,
It's literally like an arc, it's just outside of this whole Bretton Woods system that's just, when did it start in 1944 and got
yeah,
revamped in 71, and now it just I agree with you, it just looks like it's basically falling apart. The rest of the world's going BRICS, they're going with the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, plus with all the OPEC nations alliance. They're looking elsewhere. They see the G7 nations as kind of old and tired and having met their demise, and they're
yeah,
looking for ways out. And I know on one level, a lot of them are going and stacking up on gold, but on another level, they're going crypto. And,
yeah,
I know a lot. You are awesome. And I know a lot of people in our audience want to get into crypto, but they have no idea how to do it. You are helping me in this area. And can you, how can, just give us a nice primer of how conservative patriots can just get into crypto?
yeah.
And how does your team particularly help them navigate what is often a very complex space for people?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. You know, the cheeky answer is to just get in crypto, right? Just
Right.
sign up for an
Just do it.
exchange account. But we're not going to leave it there because you can't. If you really want to, restore, if you want to utilize this asset, this revolutionary innovation, as an asset that's going to protect your economic freedom, you have to not just buy it, but you have to take control of it. You have to
Mm,
self custody it. Again, I think about Pavel Durov, right? The guy's a billionaire. He's totally, at the beck and call of whatever's going to happen now with all those proceedings. But at the end of the day, you know what they can't seize? The 100 million in Bitcoin that he's got self
true.
custodied, right? So if he
That's
had that
true.
left on an exchange,
That's
they
true.
could get their hands on it. But
Right.
once you
It's
self
outside the
custody,
system. Yep. Yep.
yes, yes. Once you take it out, once you take it, if you're using a proxy to hold it for you, like a Coinbase or a Kraken or a Robinhood, then you're not really participating at the level that you should be if you
Mm,
want that level of personal freedom, right? You have to take your own custody of your
right.
assets, and so that's the first thing we teach people to do, because it can seem complex. So we show you how to buy the stuff. We go over the Mickey Mouse basics, but we also simplify what seems to be a very complex, like 8-step thing that no one would likely. I think most people likely wouldn't get it right on their own. We've
Mhm.
broken it down into an easy framework that anyone can follow. And that's the biggest joy I have, is seeing, like, how many new people come into our community. And I actually just got a few messages this week from two people. One, was a guy who had never been in the industry, and he's like, "Wow, I can't believe I'm doing this." Like, he's less than 30 days in. He's purchased crypto. He's custodying it. Now we also showed him how to use it to generate some cash flow, which is another strategy that we teach people, right? Cash flow now while building generational wealth for the future.
Oh, it's
Um,
great.
but then another gentleman, Eric, he's not a stranger to crypto, but he never went down the self custody path. And he's like, I can't believe how much I learned. I thought I knew a little bit, but how much I learned and how simple you guys made it. That was the greatest compliment. And I love those more than the stories of, hey, I 2x my portfolio since last year. Like, that's fun. But what we're trying to do is help the masses, right? So,
Right. Right.
yeah, that's maybe a little flavor of kind of our approach.
I love it. I love it. Gang, you can get a free call with Dan and his team. They are mentors. They are crypto mentors. Don't try to figure it out yourself. This is what we call who, not how approach. Don't. I mean, read up on it and find out all you can. I know a lot of you are already doing that, but then you need a who. You need a mentor, somebody who knows what they're doing to guide you through the process. And that's what Dan and his DeFi company can do for you, gang. So if you're ready to take control of your financial future and help steer this country back to its independence, freedom loving roots, scan that QR code or click on that link below to schedule your free call with Dan and his team today. Don't miss this opportunity. This is going to be a game changer for you and for your family and for the future of our nation as well. Dan, I always love chatting with you, man. I get inspired.
Likewise.
I get, and we're going to chat off camera sometime, and you're going to help me out and mentor
Yes.
me in this wonderful world of crypto. I thank you so much for that, man.
Yes, sir. You bet. Anytime.